Okay, so well, the Nintendo, the NX was actually just revealed a few hours ago. I just found out like probably a couple hours ago, so I just scrambled to throw something together about it. Yeah, well, let's see, it's revealed to actually be called the Switch, and there's a whole bunch of things that were revealed about it. Mostly things that we already figured we were true, but like there's a couple things that came up in the video that I wanted to give some thought about. Just throw maybe my opinion out there. Maybe see like how right I am when time comes and more information is revealed about it. But yeah, I just wanted to put something together quick and talk about it a little bit. But yeah, basically what we know from the video is that the Nintendo Switch is well, it's Nintendo's newest console for one, but it's able to switch between being a handheld and a portable, or a handheld and a console, hence the Nintendo Switch name. You just take the controller, just mount it into mount a couple of the controllers on the sides of it, and you pull it out of the docking station. That you can see, like in this picture here, it's like jutting out of the side of it. You can just put the controllers on the side, pull the handheld out, and your game will seamlessly switch from being on the console to being on the handheld. You can bring it around. You can play it like just like that. That's the handheld controller. You can pop out, say, let it have a little stand built in so you can play games when you're out and about. You can then you just plug it back in, grab another controller, and you can just sit down, play it on a big screen. You can also use those controllers as a multiplayer, so you can do two players per controller that you have. So you can do local multiplayer. If you get a second controller, you can do 4-player, all that stuff. And yeah, that's basically the gist of what was revealed about it, other than the fact that it is a cartridge-based system, much like the 3DS and the DS and all of the handheld stuff that Nintendo does, which like isn't a ton of a surprise, because that Nintendo does excel at their handheld consoles. But there were a few things that I wanted to maybe throw my opinion out on, maybe see how right I am in the future, all that sort of stuff. But basically, like, from what I saw in the video, it seems like it's a pretty novel idea. Like, you being able to just take your console and just pull out part of it and play your games on the go is definitely an interesting idea. But like, since we don't know a whole lot about the technical specifications, we don't know if it's I can't see what they showed us of the console. We don't see like what's where the handheld part mounts to, so we can't tell if it's like is it also the docking bay. I imagine it's probably also where the handheld controller charges, but we can't see like what else the console itself has to offer. Is it just a docking bay that has the ability to send a signal from your handheld to the TV? Is there extra like processing power in there? Does it have the power to actually like make your games look better? Or is this a glorified handheld console that you can put on the big screen? That's basically, I have no idea if that's actually the case or not. Like, I'm taking a look at the like the control handheld itself. It looks pretty good. Like, it's a pretty simple controller. It's much like, it's the natural evolution of what you'd expect the Wii U to do. Like, the Wii U was just effectively a console that you could sit on your couch and play without looking at the TV. You could play your console games on your controller while someone else uses the TV. This is just taking it a bit further, and you can actually bring the console with you. I don't know what to think about that in terms of power. Is this like, basically it seems like it is mostly a handheld console in a way, because it does use cartridges. The cartridges go directly into the handheld portion of it, and because of that, there's like a few things I'm worried about, mostly in terms of like the graphics power and such. Because like, looking at the hardware, the Switch, like you can see like in this graphic here, it does look pretty pretty standard, what you would expect like a pretty decent handheld system to look like. But when you put it on the big screen, how does it translate all that over? Does Nintendo have this set up so that you can, like, there's different GPUs and CPUs and stuff in the handheld and the hardware and the console part? So say when you're playing it on your handheld, it does all the processing and stuff there, and it has different settings so it can run at a lower quality, or does it do they actually just have it running at its full quality on the handheld portion and just blow it up on the big screen? I don't really know. And the big thing that worries me about this is it since the cartridge does go into the handheld part and not into the console part, it's a lot harder for them to make use of a full console's processing power and then downgrade it onto a handheld. They have to make use of the handheld's processing power first. And what that basically means is that, like, the way I see it going is there's like two different ways that Nintendo can do this. They can either just let it be based on the lesser of the two. So say the handheld graphics are always going to be worse than a console's graphics, so do they just let it go through the handheld and then blow it up? Or do they have two different configurations that you can use, one for handheld, one for console? And do they make them, does the console automatically make use of that, or does the game have to make use of that based on the what it's set up with? If it's the former, then like I can get behind this thing entirely, because if it's all automatic, then no third-party developer has to do any work in terms of making their games look better on the console. But like, you're basically at that point developing handheld games and just letting them look a bit better on a big screen, and that's probably going to scare away a lot of third-party developers yet again. And like, that's a big problem Nintendo's had with the Wii U, and even the Wii. A lot of third-party developers just gave up on it and ended up just being, and then Nintendo's consoles recently have just ended up being a system where you play Nintendo games and nothing else. And I'm just worried that, like, if they make it too complicated for developers to use, and even too complicated as having more than one graphics setting for a console, that could be enough to scare away third-party developers and make it way unlikely for them to ever make proper games that make the full use of the Switch's capabilities. But like, at the same time, if it's just a handheld that blows it up, why would anyone, not for lack of a better word, like, why would anyone play it if it's just a handheld? Like, they in the video they show someone playing it on the plane rate, like, they just on a plane playing Skyrim, and like, why would anyone do that? For like, if I wanted to play a game, I just if I'm gonna bring something big and bulky, like, it's not that big, that's the thing. It's about as big as you'd expect a tablet to be, but it comes with a controller that you can mount on the sides. But like, if I'm gonna bring something that's big and bulky to play games on out when I'm about, I'm gonna bring my laptop. Like, it may be bigger than the Switch is, but on my laptop I can play Skyrim, I can play a billion other games. I don't have to bring a whole bunch of cartridges with me and constantly swap things out. I can just bring my laptop, plug it in, get a bunch of games running, and I can just play all that. But at the same time, like, I can do so many other things with that. I can watch movies, I can play other games, I can work on videos, I can work on, like, there's so many other things you can do if you're bringing something big and bulky with you on something like this. Like a plane, yeah, but if you're on a bus, I can maybe understand, like, bringing something like this where you can just hold it in your hands and you don't have to worry about, like, it constantly bouncing around and falling off. But just, it doesn't. I'm just trying to think of how to word this. It doesn't seem like it's the right direction for Nintendo to go, in a way. As interesting as it is, as novel as the idea of just, like, being able to take off the sides of it and have multiplayer right there. I like that. I like that aspect of it. but I just don't like the idea. I just don't think it works very well as a handheld system at that point. We don't know anything about the battery life, the stuff like that. But like, if I want to bring a handheld system, chances are I'll bring a dedicated handheld system instead of something that is handheld and console and may not be able to handle being used as a handheld for a very long period of time. Like the Wii U controller had this issue where like the battery would go after 2 to 3 hours, and you couldn't really use it as a handheld if you were playing games solely on it. You just kind of maybe only because I played Xenoblade Chronicles X a ton, but eventually you had to just keep the controller plugged in, or else it just became not worth it to play with that controller. And just if the Switch is much of the same, where the battery dies way too quickly, if they bring a way to charge it when you're out and about, which I sure hope they do, if that's the case, then I can see this problem not being as much of an issue. But if it's just if running on its battery alone only gives you a couple hours, then it's not really good as a handheld console, and it shouldn't be really used as such. Like, even in its handheld form, it's probably about as big as like a PS2 Slim or something like that, which is it's too big for me to just bring around with me and play on the go. I'm just trying to think of what else. Like, there isn't much else I can really say about it. Really, those were my two big points. Is if the graphics obviously are gonna, the default's gonna have to be based on the lesser of the two systems, which is obviously gonna be the handheld, and what they do with it from there is, you know, up to speculation at that point. Like, I can't remember how the 3DS handles it, but I think they render it at like 720 and then downscale it. If the Switch does something like the same, like if it can process it in 1080 and with high enough quality that it just needs to send it directly to your TV, and then when it's on handheld it just downscales it, that's fine, but it still doesn't have as much power as something would have as if it's a dedicated console. And I just wonder if the part that you mount it into is going to make use of that. Is it going to have extra CPU, GPU power like that? Is it going to be able to add, are you going to be able to add like more special effects, more particle effects, stuff like that? Are you going to be able to add more? Is the console part of it going to actually contribute anything to the graphical power of this console, or is it just a handheld that can be played on a TV? Because at that point we already have tons of things like that. We had the Game Boy player on the freaking GameCube, which I could just toss a Game Boy Advance game in there and it's on the big screen for me. Like, it didn't look any better. It actually looked worse because it was just blown up. But you could, like, the concept of being able to play your handheld games on the big screen is not new, and the seamless part of it, while interesting, isn't enough to convince me that this is a great idea. Like, what will convince me is seeing the price of it, which, like, I've heard rumors it's supposed to be around $300, but I don't know how true that is, and I'm not gonna make any dedicated, like, not gonna make any guaranteed remark on that. But if it's even if it's $300 at that point, it's effectively, it feels like it's just a handheld system that can get on the big screen, and I don't know how to feel about that, really. But I'm just basically we don't know enough about this thing to make a judgment on it yet. All I know is it looks powerful. It looks like it'll be, well, it doesn't look, that came out wrong. It looks like it'll be good as a handheld at the very least. It looks like it'll be plenty powerful, probably be able to run a lot of games pretty good, make them look pretty nice. I just, once it gets mounted onto the console portion, everything goes out the window pretty much, because, and I imagine Nintendo probably knows this. Nintendo probably has something in place to make it not look bad on the big screen, even if they just like have some effects built in, some effects processing or something like that to just smooth everything out. Like, I'm torn. I really want to like it, but with Nintendo's like recent track record with the Wii and sacrificing graphics for the sake of innovation, I can't say I expect them to do something like that, like something that makes their graphics look good. And that also came out wrong. Like I can't say I expect them to do what I'm thinking, where they put extra processing power in the console to make it look better. Instead, what I think they're doing is they're gonna probably put all of the processing power in the handheld, scale it down when it's on that display, and then just send the normal one up to the TV. And it feels like it's just at that point a handheld that can mount and go on a TV, and that's not really something that makes me all that excited. Maybe the games will make me excited. Maybe some, like you can see Mario Party playing on the screen. You can see a whole bunch of other stuff like Mario Kart, Skyrim. There's some new Mario games, Zelda. Does it have backwards compatibility with the Wii U in some way? Does it have backwards compatibility even further? You can, like in the video there was also Splatoon and stuff like that. Like, is the new Zelda game, does it have some way to play Wii U games? Because it doesn't look like there's any way to play discs. All we know is that there's a cartridge mount on the back of the handheld. If it can play like Wii U games or something like that, then it's just a natural step up from the Wii U, which is what it already kind of looks like. Because the Wii U, the controller, the handheld part of it looks very similar to the Wii U. It's just a natural progression at that point, where you just put your Wii U into the console, and this is basically what the Wii U should have been. But since the Wii U already came out, it feels kind of unnecessary, for lack of a better word. And that's basically like what I think about it. Like, even looking at like these images here, like you can see the graphics on the handheld aren't that great in comparison to when it's on the big screen. So I don't know what they're planning on doing with that. Like if and even some of the shaders seem to look different. And I don't know if that's just because of the picture quality, but if they do something where like every game that's on the Switch has two different graphic settings, one for handheld and one for a console, and there's extra processing power in the console so that it can do that, I can't see any third-party developer ever making use of that. I can just see like they'll either make it based on the handheld settings and just leave it at that, or they'll make it for the console one and just say use this only as a console game, or they just won't make games for it because it's a waste of time and money. Like there's nothing remarkable enough about this to convince a third-party developer to make a game for it that has two different graphics settings, when they can just go toss it on the PS4 and the Xbox One and PC and get access to like 90-something% of the player base anyway. It all depends on how Nintendo handles the graphics and how the transition from the handheld to the console part works. Because like if everything goes well, then everything I've talked about in this video is pretty much null and void, and it'll probably be a worthwhile investment at that point just because it's so unique. But if the graphics suffer between the handheld and the console because of the fact that it's a handheld, I can't see people enjoying this as a console unless the games are good. And like I can enjoy, like I imagine there'll definitely be worthwhile games. Like heck, I got a Wii U solely because of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I never finished the game yet, but I solely bought it for that reason. And there'll probably be some game that comes out for the Switch that'll make me want to buy a Switch, but the Switch won't be my system for playing other games. If a game is available on a system that isn't the Switch, I'll probably get it for that system because of the graphics issues. So I'm curious to see how they fix that, how they handle all that stuff, how the handheld's battery life, the consoles, if it has processing power, if it's just a mount and a charging dock. I want to see all that stuff, and it's good that they didn't actually reveal it. because if they did, there wouldn't be videos like this going up. There wouldn't be people speculating, and Nintendo's really, like, I was just talking with someone about this a little while back. Nintendo's really good at getting that speculation out there. Like, that when they revealed just enough about this to reinforce what we knew and give us a bunch of talking points, and then they basically just let us go wild. Like, we can just speculate instead of have all of the technical specifications of the console revealed right away, and then just like talk about that and talk about how bad they are. Like, that's probably what would happen if they just revealed everything right away. Instead, they just revealed enough to get us talking about it, get us speculating, and then they just left us. So I want to see what happens with that, and I want to see what they do with it in the future, like what information they let out, if what I'm saying is true, if third parties actually will have interest in developing for this console, unlike the Wii U. And like, that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to get out today. And just the one other thing is that, like, it was set up for March 2017 originally, as far as I know. I heard rumors that it was supposed to be out for, say, holidays this year, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. But I did also see that it was set up for March 2017, and like, was it, if that's the case, then they actually did what's the word? They actually did stay true to that. Like, yeah, back in April, they actually said this console is going to launch next March, and they stuck true to that, it seems, so far. Maybe there's something that'll come up in the next 4 to 5 months that delays it, but good on them for actually sticking to that and making sure that it actually comes out at that time. Now, I don't know if it doesn't really change my opinion of the console itself, but it definitely makes Nintendo look good in an era where, like, everything's expected to be delayed at least like 2 to 3 months or something like that. Even 6 months ago, when they said it's going to be out March 2017, now they're like, it's still March 2017, and that's really something you can respect about that. But that's pretty much everything I had to say about it, and I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll just wrap this up here, and I'll probably talk about it more at some point in the future. But for now, that's just about everything. So I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.